All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a completely neutral, deep dive into a really fascinating set of cosmological metaphors. We're looking straight at the teachings and writings of the Life Shan guide Su Feng. Specifically, we're unpacking a core piece of his writing called The Other Shore. Now, whether your interest is sociological, spiritual, or you just love unpacking complex metaphors, there is a massive amount to dig into here about human existence and, well, our ultimate destination.
The whole premise here is deeply ethereal. I mean, picture this. Imagine human existence isn't a solid, permanent state, but rather a temporary journey across this vast flowing river. In this framework, life, and that's with a capital L, viewed as this fundamental energy, starts on one bank, but its entire purpose is to cross over. So it really makes you ask, what exactly is on that other shore? It completely forces us to reevaluate how this material views our time here on Earth. Well, to make a river crossing, you obviously need a boat, right? And in this cosmology, your physical body is strictly utilitarian. It's a temporary vessel, totally meant just to navigate the river's currents. Think of it like a rental car. Just as a passenger leaves a ferry behind the second they hit dry land, your physical body is designed to be entirely abandoned the moment you reach your spiritual destination. It's actually a really striking way to immediately detach us from our earthly identities. Now, Zhu Feng is fully aware of how radical all of this sounds. The author knows that when people are presented with this unseen spiritual destination, human reactions are going to fragment. Some people are going to flat out disbelieve it. Others might just doubt it. Some might instinctively feel like, okay, this exists, but have absolutely no clue what it looks like. And finally, some will desperately wish to reach it, but are totally lost on how to actually get there. By laying out these reactions, the text basically anticipates exactly what a skeptic is thinking in real time. This brings us to Section 1, the Columbus skepticism analogy. Consider this actual historical mockery from the esteemed theologians and geographers of the Spanish court. When Christopher Columbus proposed a round Earth, the experts literally asked if anyone could be foolish enough to believe in a place where rain falls upwards. They called him an outright swindler. This specific historical event is used here to prove a major point. The so-called experts of any given era often aggressively reject paradigm-shifting ideas. The guide essentially argues that just as those 15th century scholars lacked an understanding of a round Earth, people today lack a holistic understanding of the universe's true structure. The ridiculous pushback Columbus faced, that mirrors the exact skepticism expected today. It brilliantly reframes skepticism, not as a sign of high intelligence, but actually as a symptom of a really limited perspective.
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, the 36-dimensional spaces.
So what does this universe actually look like? The cosmology maps out a highly structured reality consisting of 36-dimensional spaces, essentially 36 distinct other shores. On the ideal, ultimate end of the spectrum, you have the 1,000-year, 10,000-year, and Elysium worlds. But on the dark flip side, the least desirable realms plunge down into the netherworld, the frozen layer, and the fiery refining layer. So we move from a vague metaphor of a river straight into this incredibly concrete structural map of reality. And here's where it gets wild. Who is actually expected to believe this cosmological map? Remember that Columbus analogy? Just as only a microscopic fraction of people believed Columbus before he set sail, the expectation here is exactly the same. The guide expects a mere 1% of the population to actually grasp and believe in these 36 dimensions. Let's look at Section 3, the guide's inherited mission. To establish authority, the material boldly places the Life Shan guide within a monumental spiritual lineage. It claims Jesus Christ knew of the other shore but didn't actually detail its conditions. Buddha knew of it but provided an incomplete discussion. And finally, the current guide arrives to inherit and complete their unfinished missions. The text asserts that trust in all three of them is identical because they are ultimately indistinguishable in fulfilling the greatest creator's will. This takes us to Section 4, rejecting earthly desires. Now, how does one respond to accusations of just being a cult leader out for fame and fortune? Well, with incredibly vivid metaphors. First, think of Chinese folklore, where spider demons offer a pure monk their absolute greatest delicacy, plump insects. The monk obviously is repulsed. Second, imagine a pack of aggressive fighting dogs begging a human to be their king. Would you say yes? The argument here is simple. Just as a monk wouldn't eat insects, the guide has absolutely zero desire to rule in the human world. To really hammer this home, earthly political power isn't seen as an achievement at all. It's viewed as an ultimate degradation, a total distraction from the true goal. The writings claim that even the humblest citizen residing in the heavenly kingdom is infinitely nobler than any king, president, or global leader here on earth. And finally, we arrive at Section 5, the precision of cultivation. So how do you actually navigate that river? The texts outline multiple doorways to truth. Whether you approach this from sincere scientific curiosity, innate spirituality, or a deep comprehension of Christ or Buddha, the framework is designed so that any of these specific lenses will ultimately lead you to recognize this singular message. It's a massive attempt to synthesize science and major world religions into one cohesive working system.
But here is the major plot twist. The source material explicitly states that standard religious preaching is essentially useless for this journey. Seriously, simply practicing compassion and universal love, which are the total cornerstones of most faiths, is deemed completely ineffective for reaching the ideal other shore. Traditional comforts just aren't enough. You actually have to undergo a fundamental structural transformation of your very life energy.
Cultivation, according to Life Shenyuan, is not about sitting quietly and hoping for the best. It's compared directly to the unforgiving, exact mathematics of launching a spacecraft into outer space. Every single calculation must be absolutely precise. Haphazard cultivation, wishful thinking, blind attempts, the text declares them entirely futile. If you lack clarity on even one calculation, your spacecraft, meaning your life, is definitely not going to reach its destination.
Which leaves us with a pretty intense, provocative thought to chew on. In a universe supposedly governed by 36 dimensions, are good intentions enough? Or does true spiritual ascendance require the rigorous, zero-error calculation of an astronaut? It's a fascinating framework to explore. Thanks for joining me to unpack these vivid teachings today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.